Welcome to another episode of No Skates, No Problem. This series is created for people who are brand new to roller skating or who are waiting for their roller skates or who are looking for some tips, tricks, and information that you can do off skates to support your roller skating. So today I'm really excited. On today's episode, we are going to be talking with Yorely Muffin, who is from Mexico. And Yorely is, well, I'm going to let her tell you all that. But Yorely, can you tell us a little bit about what kind of skating you do and yeah, what it's like to skate in Mexico?
Hi everyone. Well, my name is Yorely, and I do like to do I call it freestyle skating because here we don't have many skate parks. Actually, we only have one. I do love the skate parks, but that's why I skate in the streets a lot. And another thing that I like to practice is slalom skating. I know that you don't see that often in quad skating, but I like to practice that too. And I like to do rollouts in general. So I guess in Mexico, pretty much in every state, um, we do practice several things at the same time because there are only like two cities in the whole country that do have good skate parks. So most of us, we have to just improvise and try to practice and with the things we have. So it's like playing pretty much. I like to call it playing.
Nice. Awesome. So you're a pretty dynamic roller skater. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like when you first started roller skating, when you were a very, very beginner, how you learned and kind of what a piece of advice that you got that was really helpful for you when you were starting?
I started skating when I was 8 years old. I did have a pair of inline skates. Um, I don't know if I can call it skating because I was just like skating around, but I didn't know how to stop, how to skate backwards. So then I was off skating for 10 years and started skating again when I was 21. I joined a derby team, and that's when I realized I didn't really know how to skate because then that's when I learned to stop, to go backwards, to do crossovers, and all that kind of things. Um, the thing that I think has been the most important for me is always warm up. I always tell that to my students and to my friends. I always like to take like 10 to 15 minutes to warm up, especially my ankles and my knees that are hurt now. It has really helped me because I haven't broken a bone. I have got injuries, but not like a broken bone. So I really think warming up has helped me a lot with that. And also stretching when I just finish a session.
That's awesome. That's such great advice. Can I ask you a little bit more about when you were just learning, like when you started playing roller derby? Did you learn how to fall when you were learning how to play roller derby, or did you just kind of have to fall and figure it out?
Well, our coach always taught us to slide with our gear, not just fall and hit hard. It was to slide. And for example, I saw many of my teammates break their ankles by doing pretty much the exact same thing, which was like they were going to fall backwards. And as they didn't want to fall, they put their two stops and then they fell on their feet. And that's when they broke their ankle. I saw that at least like 5 times. And it was like, it was very, very impressive. But then I realized like that was something I had to avoid. Like, okay, I'm going to fall. I prefer to lift my feet and try to fall on my sides, on my hips or something like that, not on my buns because that really hurts. So that has really helped me in on ramps, on the streets. Like it's been really helpful doing that.
Yeah, I think that's awesome advice. If you're gonna fall, if you feel like you're about to fall, just like let it happen. Don't fight it.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
because it gets worse.
yeah, totally. So that's awesome advice. And then I wanted to go back to, you mentioned that one of the biggest pieces of advice that you got or that's been helpful for you is to warm up. And I wanted to ask, when you do a warm up before roller skating, do you do that off skates or do you do that on your roller skates or both?
I like to do both, but I do prefer off skates because I really like to focus on my ankles to, how do you say, do steps? Like do steps like with my heels, with my toes, and then on my outsides. How would you say that? Like this side, and then with this side, how do you say that? Like
Yeah.
this side on the foot. So I like to do several steps like this. I learned that in parkour. I went to parkour classes. So I always like to do that parkour warm up because it's really, really helpful.
That's really good to hear. Sort of in this series, we've been talking about other kinds of things you can do off skates, other activities or sports. And I think parkour, I'm glad you mentioned that. That's another really awesome, like mobilizing activity to, yeah, like you said, to get your ankles warmed up and your joints. So that's awesome to
Definitely.
know. Hopefully at some point we can get you to demo maybe some of your warm up
Oh,
moves.
actually, well, yeah, the warm up part, yes, but I'm not really that good in parkour. I do like it because it's a very challenging thing. It's so weird because I feel safer like jumping on my skates, but not without my skates. I just don't know why. And my parkour teachers have seen me skating and they always tell me like they don't understand how I can do all those things on skates, but they scared me if I'm not wearing my skates, and I don't really understand that either.
Well, yeah, I mean, but it's good to know where you're at. So that's awesome. Are there any other things you do off skates? Like you said, you do stretching. Are there any other activities that you do off skates to support your roller skating right now?
Currently, no. But when I started, I used to go to circus classes and then the parkour. I've been to aerial silks classes also because I want to have more flexibility because that has always been very hard for me to be more flexible. But currently, no. I do like to do different exercises at home, but not something in particular. Like one day I want to work out my arms, another day I want to work my abs, another day I want to work my legs. Yeah, things like that. I like to keep active, but not in a particular thing right now.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think like variety is awesome. It ensures that we get to kind of touch every part of the body. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to ask you, what benefits do you feel from the things that you do off skates once you do put your skates on? Like, what in particular do you see as the benefit to doing off skates training for your skating?
For example, I do have a rail that is like, well, it will be like 40 centimeters tall. So before I tried like sliding with my skates, I took like a whole afternoon jumping different ways, then just to find out how it will be better for me to jump and land and slide. It has been really helpful. I really like when I'm insecure about a trick or when I'm going to try something new, I like to practice it without my skates. So I can find how would you say, like put your body or place your body in a in the best position for me, because I do know that we all have different, like the perfect position, for example. For example, when some people slide, they like to slide with their feet like this, and I can't do that. I do prefer to put like my block pretty, I don't know, I feel more stable if I put my feet like this, and some people do like this. So I really think it depends on what works for you, because what works for you may not work for everybody. So I think I would recommend to try tricks without your skates and see how you have to bend your body, how you have to place your legs, your feet, even your arms. Your arms also have to do with the tricks. So yeah, I would suggest to try without skates.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you can kind of practice off skates and start to feel more confident and
Mhm.
secure in what the body position is and what the movement's gonna be once you like get your wheels on and there's less
Yeah.
friction. Awesome.
Yeah.
So Yorely, you are a roller skate teacher, which is awesome. So I assume that you probably teach a lot of beginners.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to see if you would tell us a little bit about how you teach beginners to fall, if you do teach beginners to fall. Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I always suggest them to get a good set of knee pads or well safety gear, um, or at least wear something to feel like more secure. I like to suggest to actually use them, because sometimes people get a pretty good set of safety gear and then they don't want to, how would you say, like scratch it. They like to make it look good, like new. They like them to look new every time. How would you say that? Like
Yeah.
that? Okay. So people like to like their safety gear to look new. And it's like, no, you have to fall on it. You have to actually use it. So I like to take a class to teach them how to slide with their knee pads, to actually use their elbow pads, also the grace guards, because I have seen people that do have like very thick knee pads and they still get injured. And it's like, why didn't you use it? It's like, no, because they are new. It's like, no, they are for that. They are going to help you to prevent injuries. So use them. Don't be afraid to use them. But that doesn't mean that you always have to fall like pretty hard on them. So I would recommend them, and I always like to teach people to slide with their gear.
Nice. Yeah. So
And
yeah, I think that's a good point you make, is that in addition to what you said in the beginning, as far as when you're falling, don't fight it. If you're falling on your pads or anything, you can kind of use them and go with the momentum rather than just like a blunt kind of like fall. You can let them help you slide it out if that's how your fall is going. Yeah, that's really good
yeah.
advice. Um, as a teacher, when your students fall or if you've had any students get injured, what kind of things do you tell them to kind of keep them motivated and help them to come back to skating?
Well, in 4 years, only one of my students have got injured. But actually, when that happened, she realized what was her mistake, because I have I remember that I was like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And when she had to do that movement, she got scared and did exactly what I told her to not. The thing that I told her, not, don't do this, don't do this. And she was like, I did what you told me to not do. The thing that you told me, don't do that. Well, so she was motivated after that because she realized what was her mistake. She understand what what had happened, and she learned from it. And we have motivated her to keep skating. Well, that happened just right before quarantine, so she hasn't been able to skate that much. But I like to tell them, like, you are always going to fall in skating. Like, it's impossible that you just never fall. Like, that doesn't happen to anybody, even the professionals or anything. We always fall because we are trying really different things. Like, we are not usually do, like, you don't usually like drop in a ramp backwards, for example. So for example, in my case, I'm always like, okay, I may fall like this, so I'm going to put my arms like this just in case I fall. So I always like to teach that to my students, like, okay, you can probably fall like this, so be prepared and put your arms like this just in case, you can cover your face or things like that. So for my way to motivate my students, it's like actually to teach them how they could fall if they don't focus on the trick, and to show them, like, we all get injured. I actually like to show them my scars because it's like they may think like, oh, you never fall, teacher. No, I do. And it's like, look my arms, look my knees, like. So, well, I would say that, like, learn from your falls and just keep trying. And the next time I'll be there and I'll be holding your hand and we'll try it again. And you'll see that this time you will land it.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Something I heard you say that is really important is to kind of have an exit strategy before you do a trick, and that's
Mhm.
something you teach your students, which is awesome. I know personally that was a huge game changer for me in terms of having confidence in trying a trick. Like, if I knew how I could bail out of a trick, then it felt a little easier to approach it. So yeah, that's really awesome advice. That's awesome. And you sound like an awesome teacher, Yorely. So
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
what actually brought you to roller skating? What about roller skating made you want to do it?
Oh, well, I got my first pair of skates when I was 8 years old. I don't know if you know them, but here in Mexico, we do celebrate the Three Kings Day. Well, in my family, we do celebrate the Three Kings Day instead of Christmas and Papa Noel and all that. We do celebrate that. So I got them in that day. And I loved skating. And my city is pretty much up hills and down hills. So I remember that I used to skate like downhill every day with my friends, and I loved it. But I always thought, like, I want someone to teach me because I only know how to to let myself roll down, and that's it. So when I started again, I remember that I went to derby recruitment. That's how you said that? Derby recruitment?
Oh, yep,
Or,
derby recruitment.
yeah, derby recruitment. And I had never worn quads before. And as soon as I put them on, I fell. But I liked it because, I don't know, I like the feeling of trying to stand up and fall backwards. I love that feeling. So that's why I kept practicing and practicing and practicing. And I started just like, I remember that I wanted to street skate like I always wonder how it was to just to roll around the city, especially because my city it's like this. So I always wonder like how does that feel? So that's what I kept practicing. I felt really in love with it. I started going to the school with my skates, and then going downtown and doing pretty much several things like that. So that's what I love it.
Nice. Yorely, what city in Mexico are you in?
It's called Jalapa, Veracruz. It's not, it's like 6 hours away from Mexico City. So it's a pretty small city, actually.
Nice. And then, is there a pretty big roller skate community in your city, or are you kind of pioneering this in your city?
We are a small community. As actually, our city is pretty much not designed for skating in general. Like our streets are pretty bad. We only have one bowl, but it's not in great conditions. We still use it though. Um, but that's why there's a small community. Pretty much everyone skates inline. So I've been the only one in quads. I mean, there were only quad skaters, but they were only in derby. They didn't like streets or anything of the gym. So yes, I guess I was a pioneer with quad skating in the streets and freestyle, slalom. So I just wanted to see all the things I could do with my skates, with my quad skates.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, so I just have like kind of one more question that has to do with fails and injury. Have you ever experienced a fall or gotten an injury? And can you tell us a little bit about it, as well as tell us what you learned from it?
Well, when I was in Derby, we used to play different things, and I got injured, like my wrist, both in different times. But that's when I started like doing push-ups and all that because I didn't have strength. Um, then that's when I started my circus classes and I started like gaining more strength on my arms. That's where I joined then aerial silks. And the last thing I tried was parkour because I wanted more agility in general. Actually, my injuries, like my recent injuries, happened before the camps, the Moxi camps, like 2 weeks before camps, because I was like, oh, I want to try many things at woodwork. So I started practicing a lot in my city and I got injured. The first one was my ankle, and the second one was my knee. So I was really bummed because it was 2 weeks before camp. So I was pretty injured, like no. So I haven't tried in woodwork as many things as I wanted. But what I've learned from them, maybe I would say that maybe those happen because I was like pushing myself even harder that I used to. Like I think like if I had took it slower, that wouldn't have happened. Because I spent several hours in the skate park, like I want to land this trick, I want to land this trick so I can do it at woodwork. But it was like then I didn't even try it because I was hurt. So what I learned from them, like take my time to rest, because as soon as I got injured, like the rest of the days till I went to the camp, I didn't skate. I rest. My mom is a physiotherapist, so that has helped me a lot. So she has taught me how to heal myself a bit, do massages and all that. So when I've been to California, I do skate my whole state like 12 days skating, like the full day. So pretty much every day skating. But when I get back to Mexico, everything hurts so much. So I just like stopped skating for a month even, because the last time I couldn't even walk properly because my knee really hurt, was really hurting me. And so I took a month to rest and to get my physiotherapy and all that. So what I've learned, like as soon as you get hurt, like take your time to rest, and if you need to, like get some therapy, physiotherapy. That has helped me. I
That's
think that
awesome.
has helped me to prevent it to get worse, to get worse at some point.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. It's almost like when you're falling, you kind of have to let it happen. And if you're if you're growing as a skater, you also have to let that process happen in its time. So rushing things can be, yeah, totally. That's really
Yeah.
good advice. Um, So, Yoreli, those are the questions I had for you. I think these are great answers. I think you gave our viewers some really good advice. Is there anything else that you want to say to any brand new skaters out there or people who are looking for anything off skates to do?
I would say, like, the first advice I gave you, like, if you are going to fall, let it happen. But that doesn't mean that you fall like in such a weird position or anything. It's pretty much more like, okay, you may fall doing this, so be prepared to cover your face or something like that, or try to not, if you are not wearing gear, try to fall on your hips or something like that instead of hitting your knees, for example. So I would say, like, be prepared before you practice something, like in the ways you may fall without hurting yourself. And if you are already going to fall, like, let it happen, lift your skates. I think that's the best advice that has worked for me. Like, don't fall on your feet, like lift them, because I see some people like, oh, they're already going all the way backwards, but they still want to be in their feet like this. Is like, no, you are already falling. Like, let it happen. Lift your feet. Like, avoid that injury, which is breaking your ankle. I think that's what terrifies me. So that's why I always do that, and that has always helped me in 7 years. I that has always helped me from the very first day, to always let myself fall when it's going to happen.
Yeah, that's great. You really, that's such good advice. I think our beginners are going to take a lot away from this interview. So thank you so much for being here and taking the time to share what you've learned as a roller skater, as well as what you've learned as a roller skate teacher.
Yeah.
So that is going to wrap up this episode of No Skates, No Problem. Really excited that we got to have Yorely on this episode today. And if you'd like to learn more about Yorely, we're going to put information in the description below so you can find links to her Instagram. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.
Adios.